it's time to look at what the papers are saying on their front pages. And as usual, we'll start with our sister publication, the newspaper. At the executive section with Emir of Qatar, Tinubu woos foreign investors, says Nigeria ready for business. Some writers there urges Qatari investors to report to him any official that impedes progress or asks for gratification. Witnesses signing of 7 bilateral agreements on investment promotion, mining, youth empowerment, and some others. IOC's indigenous producers seek expeditious resolution of all oil assets divestment deals. OPEC Plus members agreed to extend voluntary cuts in quarter two to quarter two. Let's look at some of the other news. NECA, CPPE raised the alarm over federal government's 750% additional levy on expatriate employment. At the top mast, CBN oversubscription of open market bills show of confidence in the economy, and just 42 million SIM cards barred across telecoms networks in 5 days. That's on this day.
The Guardian Nigeria this morning is taking a look at Nigeria's terrorism index. It says terror attacks decline amid new recruitments and rise in violent conflicts. 10 countries most impacted by terrorism. Nigeria stands at number 8 at the Global Terrorism Index, with some other figures on that infographic. Get a copy of The Guardian to get more information. Hardship, military, paramilitary to distribute foods as hoodlums loot warehouses. You can see some of the photos there as well. Banditry, police place 50 million naira bounty on 2 kingpins in Katsina State. Meanwhile, telcos may lose 83 billion naira monthly over those disconnected telephone lines. The Guardian.
Well, a couple of national papers this morning lead with the happenings in the warehouse in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Let's look at what the Tribune is reporting about that incident. The Tribune says residents loot warehouse in Abuja, steal food items, vandalized building belongs to FCT Agric Department. Police arrest 15 suspects, recover 26 bags of maize. The leading photograph is that of President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria and the Emir of Qatar during a meeting in Doha yesterday. Nigeria, Qatar signed agreements on education, investment, others. Nigeria has best returns on investment, says Tinubu, tells Qatari investors to report any official who asks for bribe. It's a busy front page, and that's the front of the Tribune.
Daily Trust has that same story about residents looting. Daily Trust looting warehouse in Abuja, steal foodstuffs, roofing sheets. That is hunger in the land. All right, NEMA beefs up security at own facilities because of what happened. Express your feelings responsibly, Shetima urges citizens. Address hunger, poverty, insecurity, WIS tells government. Let's look at some other stories. Tinubu to investors, reporting new official who demands inducement. NEF cautions against relocation of firefighting equipment. In the Nigerian League, Lobby Stars stunned Katsina United 2-0 to regain top spot. Customs opens 90-day window for vehicle duty regularization. Man who returned 100 million naira gifted Hajj slot and cash. War on Gaza. Israel kills Palestinians collecting aid. That's a pity. That's for the Daily Trust.
The New Telegraph this morning is also focusing on the hardship in the country as residents break into FCTA-owned agric warehouses. Says incident signals looming mass uprising. At the bottom there, the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee is ordering private airlines to refund 4 billion naira COVID-19 funds to the federal government within 1 week. Tinubu to Qatar investors return on investment highest in Nigeria. Meanwhile, federal government grants 90-day extension to regularize duty on imported vehicles. Let's take one headline at the top there. Diesel prices hit 1,750 naira per litre here in Abuja. In Lagos, New Telegraph is reporting that it hit 1,710 naira per litre.
The Punch has a similar headline, as I said earlier, on food crisis. Tight security at Nema stores as hoodlums loot FCT warehouses. Troops foil attack on Abuja warehouse, arrest 5. Hoodlums catch away rice, others. Policemen deployed in Bayelsa, Katsina, Delta, Osun warehouses. Reforms not meant to inflict hardship, says Vice President Shetima. A story you will find on all the papers this morning is that of President Bola Tinubu telling Qatari investors to report Nigerian officials demanding bribes. That's a story also making it to the front page of the Punch this morning.
Let's look at the Punch Sports Extra. Outcome of AFCON, man in demand. You're seeing the picture of Nwabali, a goalkeeper, Queen's Park Rangers, Saudi Arabia Giants, gone for Nwabali, top Belgian club, also interested in the shot stopper. While Leo won't join Chelsea, Foden double pass, City to a derby win that beat Manchester United 3-1 over the weekend. Ghana seek to close gap on Liverpool and City. They play Sheffield United at Bramall Lane this evening. Osimhen, Boniface on Arsenal shortlist. Double impact. What's this? Ejuke scores assist in Antwerp's big win. And Emir grabs 5th League One goal. Red Shield Salah from Egypt call up. Blues fans chant for Mourinho. They want him back. That's for Sports Punch Extra.
On the front page of Business Day, Central Bank of Nigeria to clear FX backlog in days as dollar inflow swells. Sells 1-year OMO, that's the Open Market Operations Bill, at a record 21.5%. They also have a big story on fake drugs that it overruns regulators and endangers Nigerians. That's Business Day.
The Vanguard. This Monday morning, federal government fights inflation, mops up 5 trillion naira to raise interest rates, reprice fixed income yields. CBN meets foreign investors over FX reforms. MPR hike says there will be free entry and exit. And only implementation of agreement will stop nationwide strike, NLC insists. Well, this comes after the back and forth between the Labour Union and President Bola Tinubu over the essence of strike and protest in the country. This and many more make it to the front page of the Vanguard.
All right, we'll take one or two international papers and then we'll bring in Benga Shuru to look at all these stories. Now let's see the I paper. It says Hunt field story jitters of election budget, light on tax cuts. The I.
The Financial Times this morning. Right turn Le Pen eyes French gains. She launches European election campaign with swipe at authoritarian EU. Meanwhile, Saudis and Russians lead OPEC Plus push on oil prices by extending output cuts. The March expiry postponed and Brent crude up 6% since November. Meanwhile, the IEA forecasts slowing demand. In the UK, Hunt digs hard to find cash for budget tax cuts to lift Tories' election spirit. Will that work out? We'll have to wait and see. That's the Financial Times.
Well, let's bring in our Eyes News senior correspondent Benga Asher for analysis of some of the stories on the front pages. Benga, good to see you this Monday morning.
Good morning, Indy, Adesua, and Nkechi. Always a delight to be with you every Monday morning.
Great to have you. A recurring story and one that should bother a lot of people is that of the incident in Abuja, the warehouse looting. Benga Asher, when you saw that report, what came to mind?
It's straight as obvious. Hunger in the land is a reality. But be that as it may, the people should not take that as a license for criminality, because I could see. And also, kudos to the security forces for that prompt intervention. If we could have such a prompt intervention in every other areas in the security sector, I think this country will be a better place to live in. But I think that the voices of the masses is loud enough for the governments to hear and to listen. The vice president is saying that the citizens should respond responsibly, but sometimes desperate situation calls for desperate measure. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. That's on the government side. So the government should need to put in their urgent thinking cap to find solution to this hunger crisis in the country. It's good enough that the president is in Qatar to sign bilateral agreement, but be that as it may, we need to find an urgent solution to the hunger in the land. It's a reality. It's biting everyone from top to the bottom. So I think that the statement is loud, but I would not support criminality because it will not favor anyone. I think the government, this government is still pretty new, 9 months in office. I think we should give them a bit of time more. We should exercise some bit of restraint and see what they can do in terms of the ongoing economic reforms. But the statement is loud enough now, because I think some few days ago it was NEMA warehouse, now it is FCT owned warehouse that the people are now invading. So now the desperation has gotten to its very height, and the people are now taking laws into their hands for survival. So that reminds one of the state of nature, where life is described to be short, brutish, and wicked. And I don't think we would want to face that, where it is survival of the fittest. So I think the federal government should be working so hard to avert that. I think in the international rating, Nigeria is already listed in the list of fragile states. We would not want a situation where we would deteriorate to that of failed states. So the statement is loud enough, and it's asking of the government to change reality.
All right, yeah, loud enough. They say a hungry man is an angry man.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just like you said, government should do something about it. Let's look at this today. Our sister publication on its front page. It says, at executive session with Emir of Qatar, Tinubu woos foreign investors, says Nigeria ready for business, and that the Qataris should report anyone that tries to induce them and therefore cause, not allow investors to come to invest. What do you make of Tinubu's statement?
Yeah, it's clear enough. The president is making this bold declaration. But what happens in Nigeria, everything is a global village. The information is global. Everyone knows the situation and the status quo when it comes to issues of corruption. Don't forget that the people are checking Nigeria's anti-corruption index. But for me, it's a bold move. It's quite an ambitious and audacious move for the federal government to be seeking partnership, signing that kind of bilateral agreement with the Qatar. And we've seen the concerns coming from Emir Hamad Al Thani. And the president has also said that we have that market where you could have quick returns on investments. But how do you have quick returns on investment when the power sector is in a dire strait? It's indeed a very challenging situation. So we need to put our house in order. We need to ensure that things are functioning so that it's all about creating a wide investment appetite to attract foreign investors when those trappings are there. And also, we also need to rejig our economic policies. What kind of incentives are we giving to these investors? What are we doing about our tax waivers, our import and export duties? So we need to create a free market economy where investments could thrive. So we're looking at tourism, education, investment engagements, solid minerals, and other key sectors that they have signed this bilateral agreement. But we need to put those aids to trade. You recall that aids to trade was as simple as an elementary topic. And those are the kind of things. What is the situation of our transport sector? Well, kudos to the state governments for the red rail line that was launched just last week, a few days ago, and that's one positive light. But when you look at the broad situation, this security sector, farmers cannot go to their farms to bring farm produce. The agri sector is under threat, is under siege by terrorists and kidnappers. So what do you make of the investments? And this information, like I said earlier, is global. So the federal government needs to put all the indices together to attract the right kind of investments. We understand that people know that because of our population, we have educated youth, over 200 million educated youth. It's an attraction for our investment climate. But nevertheless, there are other indices that are very, very cogent that the federal government needs to start putting in place.
Mwenga, I'd like to get your thoughts on the big story The Guardian Nigeria has this morning on Nigeria's terrorism index. It says terror attacks decline amid new recruitments and also rise in violent conflicts. Nigeria, it says, recorded its first increase in terrorism in 3 years in 2023, with the total deaths rising by 34% to over 500 people. What are your thoughts on that story?
We live in a stark reality of insecurity. Talking about the situation in Jos, in north central areas, the violent extremism in the northeast is an incontrovertible reality. So whatever statistics anyone is fiddling with, these are issues. Just about a month ago, the FCT, the heartbeat of the nation, came under siege. It took intervention of all the security forces to reassure residents of Abuja that we could live safely in. And up till now, there's still some bit of apprehension. So whatever indices of saying that recruitment in the terrorist cycle is declining, it's the federal government needs to put all the mobility assets in place to ensure that, just as the attack on the warehouses that we saw, we need to have that proactive intelligence to be able to preempt. They were only able to prevent but we need a preemptive strategy with the imputing of the mobility assets by the security forces, so that we can be rest assured that even investors, that would promote investors' confidence in the land. But with the way things are now, regardless of the indices, it's something that we see. Jos is under siege. The north central area, Benue, recently, we saw what happened there. And even in the east, we saw the activity, we could see the activities of the separatist movement. So the coast is not yet clear. It's not time for us to rest on our hours regarding security, regardless of whatever indices that research bodies are churning out. It's still not what is responsible for the hunger crisis in the land. It's largely, even the CBN governor said it last week when he was giving address on the monetary policy rating. He said while they will deal with the direct impact, they would also need to consider the indirect impact and create an inclusive strategy.
Gbenga, thank you so much. Well, the coast is clear that we have to let you go. Thank you so much for the review of the papers this morning.
Thank you very much indeed.
Our Eyes News senior correspondent, Gbenga Ashiri.